Punisher is one of my more favorite characters. And the older I get, the more that I actually love the character, and this should be obvious as to why. Punisher, aka Frank Castle, embodies the what ifs that fans of heroes of any genre always ponder. Those what ifs being centered around the idea that the hero actually showing reciprocity to the pain caused by the villains. He will kill you. That alone obviously makes it more for a mature audience, but because that's his backbone, it's very difficult to mess him up. I think in comparison to maybe other characters over the years, the Punisher is generally done right, if you ask me. Now remember, over at the Patreon, you do get review and coverage requests on comics, but this particular deal is not a request at all. This is just me. A few months late in covering this for a video. I've been keeping up with this. However, you can see I have issue 6 right here, which is the latest issue. But today we are focusing on the first issue, which highlights why I think this is a comic done right for a first issue, that is. Now, yeah, Matt Rosenberg is the writer, Simon Kodronsky is the artist, and the colorist is Antonio Fabela. This takes place after the Secret Empire a couple of years ago that was centered around the evil Captain America, who was a plant for Hydra. Now, Punisher was actually caught up in all of that, and he was even War Machine for a little bit, or had his armor. But enough of all that, let's get into it. This arc is known as World War Frank, and we start with part 1. I love how this gets suspense going right off the bat. This isn't an easy thing to do with established characters, but we start with different events taking place all around the world. We see Hydra jacking a ship off the coast of Morocco, and we get our first dead guy, really, right here on the second page of the story. Awesome. I'm not trying to dramatize this, but this artwork, bro, is absolutely killer, man. I love this. It's Punisher, so of course you aren't really going to expect this bright, like extravagant stuff going on, but it does a really great job of really capturing the darkness in terms of the theme. But you still can see the differentiation in colors. But we move on to Switzerland, where we get our first glimpse at least in this comic, really OG Baron Zemo, who seems to be working with Hydra. He makes an appearance. He's an old adversary of Captain America. Look at him, he looks pretty cool. He's more than just really this guy with a purple beanie over his head, which he's looked in the past. Moving on to Staten Island, where we see our first conflict, where Hydra and Roxxon are loading and unloading trucks until they are attacked, and the head of Roxxon security, Vedha, tries to get away. Take a guess at who's chasing after him, but look at this action, man. It's intense, dog. Look at the action, I love it. But this is right out the gate. This sort of like explosion scene, we have some of that right there. But moving on, look at this, man. This is incredible. But they do make it to the Roxxon facility, and the Punisher managed to stop telling them right before they got there. So there's a lot going on pretty early on, and a lot of questions raised. What the hell is Zemo and Hydra up to? They have Roxxon ambassadors of different countries involved, and there's no shortage of action. We see the Punisher drive this big ass tank through a facility and he's killing everybody in sight. So Punisher's on this chase trying to get to Vedha, and there's so much action. He's even leaping from like choppers as they're trying to escape. I mean, he even dropped a grenade at one point, if I can get to it. Yeah, he drops like a grenade as he's jumping to a chopper. Things are nuts. Now we also find that Mandarin is working with Zemo, as well as he's really prepared right here to speak as a representative from Baglia in New York in front of the United Nations. He's basically trying to get it recognized as a nation. But during his speech, he gets his ass sniped, right? As you can see right here, he sniped. He got sniped right in the face. And long story short, Mandarin is dead, and there's a manhunt underway for Punisher, and Zemo is prepared for war, which he literally says right here, "So be it, Castle, we go to war." This to me is the first issue done right, from the writing to the art. It's a lot of action, maybe even a little hard to keep up with at time considering there's so much action, but there's no wasted panels. As I've said before, it's really hard to mess this character up for a more mature audience, but that doesn't mean that it's impossible. All in all, it's great. It makes you want to read the next issue, and I would especially recommend this for people who are familiar with the Punisher, but not necessarily the actual comics. I think this is a good series to really get started on if you are judging it by the first initial issue, because it captures everything Frank Castle and his environment. I highly recommend it. And that's going to really do it for this video. Until next time, man, y'all be easy.